Now we live in a world where the questions of identity based on race, religion, gender and other categories influences so much. Is there anything of that kind of categories influencing your writing?
See, basically, unless you are writing about a situation, a political situation, an emotional situation where all this matters, when you're consciously doing that, that is the only time. But otherwise, it is not even the casual reader, the reader of poetry who is interested in this. It is the scholar, it is the researcher who looks into it and finds out where this fits in, and they connect the dots.
Yeah.
But as far as your writing is concerned, it's from whatever you feel.
Yeah.
Maybe a political thought, or maybe an emotional thought, or whatever it is, an inspiration, maybe a completely different, isolated sort of idea. That is what it's between you and the page, and like I said earlier. But it is the researcher, the scholar, and maybe one or two readers will find out all these pointers in it. But it is there all over the place. You can't avoid the problems of race, gender, the problems.
Yeah.
Because if you have to bring them in as a conscious effort, then you're a failure.
As a poet, as a creative writer.
But if you look at the problems that are created and your heart sort of goes out to it, and then you feel like writing, that's a different thing.
Okay.
That I think is the role of the poet, to voice these problems.
Okay. When you said you had some models but you don't remember those names, at least some tools or techniques of writing poetry from those poets or from others, from other sources, have you read about them? Have you developed some techniques or tools like that?
I think it is not something which you keep as a template, or you build upon. But like I said, it all goes to make your foundation. So maybe different categories of poetry. I don't stick to one type of poetry or one, not even one, architecture of poetry, the form of poetry. I try and build the form according to the emotion of that particular poem. So I may be influenced indirectly by poets, but I don't sort of think of these poems or poets and then build upon that. That wouldn't, especially now that I've come so far in my physical age, or my that now I can't sort of go back and think about all those things. They may inspire us, they may give us great joy, and it may all contribute to that quality which is there, which produces your poetry. So that contributes, but that does not generally influence in that way.
In creative writing classes, writers generally teach some kind of techniques of writing poetry or tools of writing poetry. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yes. Because what happens is, you go there and you tell them what has gone before.
Okay.
And you, this is how I used to teach my students. I used to give them poetry from the masters.
Okay.
So they just absorb it.
Okay.
And then give them a few pointers, which is my take on it, or the general take on it by other scholars till now. But they have always to bring a new, fresh gaze upon it. Okay. So that's why even if you're marking, when you're a paper, a script, what you do is you look at what is there till now, the people who have already written, and what is the text till now, the guidelines, all that is already there. But you don't, forget the fact that the reader or the student also has one extra level that he or she brings to that experience.
Every writer brings in.
Yes. Okay. So that in the answer paper, if the student does that, overreaches the standard procedure, you should not be strict and say, no, this has to conform to a certain thing. Because the youngster is the one who helps poetry grow.
True, true.
The next generation is the one who pushes poetry to grow.
Okay. Breaks the bounds.
Yes. So new ideas or new inspiration does not come in till the student who is influenced and inspired
Okay.
does his own thing.
Okay. That individuality must
Individuality must come out. And the teacher must recognize that there is scope for it beyond the textbooks.
Okay. I think now our time comes for you to read your poems. The question is, what poem or poems do you think every reader should read in his lifetime or her lifetime?
I don't think there's anything like that. Even my son, I took him to a library for the first time and told him, you just go ahead.
Okay.
He said, you mean anything? Aren't there some taboo or anything which is prohibited? So I said, no, you just look around. I'll tell you. If it's that bad, I will tell you. But you just look around and pick what you want. Because that's how the world is.
Yeah.
The world is all around for you and you have to pick
It's
and
open.
choose. Yes, and you have to make your contribution, your own selection, your conscious selection.
Okay.
That's how you can contribute.
Okay. I was really happy that when you said the core of poetry is something sacred. That sacredness, to participate in that sacredness, I think every reader must read some poems.
The reader must read some poem and the poet must prepare himself for that. It's a rite of passage that he has to go through to reach that place where he can write poetry that goes out into the world.
Okay.
And the reader must be aware of things that's a slow process. The reader, that's how he educates himself, that's how he arms himself, qualifies himself by reading.
Yeah. Now let's listen to your poems, please.
The first poem is about something which I'm very interested in, cinema.
Okay.
And this is in the words of a projector. There is a darkened room and people are watching a movie and the projector is talking.
Oh, I see. What is the title?
It's called Projector.
Oh, projector. Please. Go
In a hall where curtains crush the last sun rays, they wait in semi-silent stupor, hundreds facing a white bright screen, kindred as they share a dream. No one notices me, the screen sparkles to life and the story begins spouting from my eye. Through a magic ray slicing the night, image quickens and becomes life. I regurgitate film and fool their senses, throwing up carefully crafted scenes of life, of people and places and slices of happiness, humor and song with chest-heaving sighs. Shut your eyes, you'll know what I mean. The darkness mothers your every dream. There's hero and villain and ravishing bride, and love in the midst of punishing pride. So leave them with their popcorn and tears. They are safe in their ignorance. When they know light, when they know me, it's time for deliverance. That's one of them. And there's one about, there was a boat tragedy in a place called Kumaragam in Kerala.
Okay.
So after that, I was pretty much affected by the things that went on afterwards, the people who lost their lives and the families deprived of their people. So after that, I wrote this, and the poem is called Kumaragam. Days after the drowning, when companion villages raised the memory of their various dead, and boats and blame were re-examined, and officials packed up exhausted, dredging out certificates and compensations. One evening, when the whales had stilled the sky, like ghost singers fading out, and the lamp reached the threshold like any other evening, the old woman hobbled out, muttering her prayers and cursing each member of her family for leaving her alone, unaware of the reason for the terrible silence in the house that invaded even her deafness. And there's one very light poem about poet thinks he's a big person, he is full of ego and stuffed.
The label of a poet.
Label of a poet. But when he's sitting there, somebody comes to visit him. So this is called The Visitor. Each day I sit before the screen, facing a window, this garden of green, tall trees, birds and squirrels and bees, a languor that's nature's idea of peace. A white sky glows through in patches, offering itself as the muse catches. My eyes feast and the mind wanders, delicate pride as a writer ponders. And through the grandeur of my tale, she flutters to my vision without fail. Sharp-beaked and as small as my palm, a simple message shattering my calm. What does she know, this tiny bird, the heavenly ring of a single word, of worlds churned out from a writer's mill, as she hops about on my windowsill?
Oh, great. I listened to some kind of a rhyme here in this poem.
Yes, I try to experiment. Sometimes it's with the rhyme and the rhythm. There's one about I told you about the silence of words.
Yes.
I'll end with that one.
Oh, sure.
It's called the silence of words. I wonder even as I drink coffee and abandon newspapers yet again, and settle down to question the clear white screen, seeking words and moments, faces and bondings that aren't so ready-made as you think. We have our moments of consummate summation, when the muse hesitates, confused. A writer's world isn't filled by words, but by the silence of words. So there you have it, even as you hug the dark corner, picking off-colored beads scattered all over our predicament. It's not a happy world, but a seeking one, never brought to fruition, but by completing the circle of life, like my arms reaching around, yet losing you each time by that hair's breadth between fingers. I wonder still.
Oh, that's a lovely poem. Is there any philosophical dimension to this silence of words?
Yes, because everything, see, for one thing, for me, it all began with my love for music.
Okay.
So, between each words, within each word, within each letter, there is music.
That's wonderful. Could you tell us a little more about the music of poetry?
Because you, see, there are two aspects to it. One is the rhythm, the rhyme, the words themselves, where you place the word, the gravity of the word, the simplicity of the word, the little, teasing of the word, all that. And then there's also the silence of the word, between the words, what is unspoken, like you say, the heard melodies and unheard melodies, something like that. So I think music, which I've grown up with, all kinds of music.
Excellent.
That has helped me, and I think even while I'm writing words, there is music.
In novel also, in play also?
In all of them. Without music, I don't think a creative writer can organize and put his words together.
Okay.
That's my take on it. I don't know about
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you. Now let's come to our practical classroom situation.
Yes.
How do you want your poetry to be introduced to the students in the classroom?
I don't think I have any prescriptions for that, because it depends on how the lecturer or the professor reads my poem and how each individual student takes it. That freedom has to be given. That's the only thing I ask. That freedom of interpreting a poem individually has to be given to the student.
Okay. Next question is related to again academic situation where we have to evaluate answers on poetry. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, I told you, when you're writing, when you're evaluating poetry, you have to give that extra dimension possibility to the student, because it is not just the text or the guides or the scholars that have gone before who have formulated it, but there is an element of growth when the new reader adds his or her own bit. So I always did that. Whenever I was teaching poetry, I read it out, or I asked them to read it out, and then I asked them what they themselves felt about it. And only after that did I talk about the poem. So there is one element to it, one extra atmosphere to it, which you brought into it. So that poem lives from that moment onwards in a different way.
That's great. That means every reader must have the chance to read the poem by himself or herself.
Yes.
Do you also want to give importance to the loud reading of the poem?
That depends.
Or silent reading of the poem?
That depends on the person. There are certain people, like the silence of words may be better if you read it in silence. But another person may see the music of to realize the music of the words
Okay.
by reciting it aloud. So both are, see, there is nothing which is taboo. That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There are no templates which need not be broken.
Okay.
Every template has the inbuilt bomb within
Okay.
to burst it open and leave place for another template or another reading of the
Okay.
poem.
We come to the last question. How would you want your student to read your poems? There are many students we have in our campus, in many campuses across the country. How would you like your student to read your poems?
I think if I had a prescription like that, I wouldn't be a poet at all.
Okay.
The poet has to leave his poem.
Okay. Just leave it.
Yes, you have to write the poem and then you have to leave it so that somebody else has full authority over it.
Okay.
And each individual, each reader, each student who picks up the poem
Okay.
is the owner of that poem from then on.
That means you are willing to disavow this ownership of your poetry.
Not ownership. I'm not talking about copyright or legal thing.
Okay.
I'm talking about the meaning, the value, the quality of the poem.
Okay.
Because unless a reader takes it and owns it
Okay.
and grows it as he grows older, that poem dies. It's a monument. Every monument is dead monument. You can't build further on a monument.
No.
So that when you monumentalize something like that, then it's over. But if you give it that position that potential to grow,
Okay.
then that poem lives
Okay.
forever, maybe.
Can I summarize my understanding of your words, particularly the last one? Does it mean that you want the student or reader to give life to the poem that you have written on his own or her own and give any shape, any meaning to it?
Absolutely. There may be a core, like I said, there may be a core idea or understanding on which the poem is built. That remains because that is the poet's
Yes.
idea of it.
That is a starting point.
Yes, but even then, once you put that bomb in that you never know what stays and what, because even when I was 14, if I had read a poem, and then I read that same poem when I was 35,
Certainly.
there's been a difference because not only has the poem acquired that sort of sensibility to me, I have grown.
Yes.
My experiences, my reading has grown.
Yes.
I have become bloated with other people's inspirations and understandings to be able to add my own new reading or new meaning to that.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to our NPTEL studio, sharing your rich experience of writing poetry, teaching poetry. It has been wonderful for us. You have spoken to us about your own process of writing poetry, the challenges that you faced as a writer of poetry. Particularly in your case, you are lucky, you said you were into journalism, so you didn't have that much of difficulty, but others do face such difficulties that you have acknowledged. And from my listening to you, I understand that you lay so much of emphasis on the freedom of the writer and the freedom of the reader to write in any way, to shape up his or her own experience in any way, so that the poem lives on its own.
Yes.
I am very glad that you were also able to share your experience of teaching poetry in certain places where you want the readers to experience that joy of reading, experience that freedom of reading and interpreting the poems. Thank you so much.
It's been a wonderful day for me. IIT is a place where I would always enjoy coming back to.
You are always welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.